This is the Haibike Enduro RX, and it's a step down from the Enduro Pro. The primary differences that I've noticed on this are it's a 10-speed cassette. It doesn't have the super big ring for climbing. Still, 10 rings is quite good. And the suspension's the same. It's got the drop seat. It's actually the same frame, and it's available in 4 sizes: small, medium, large, and extra large, with this kind of step down high step. This is a bike that's designed for downhilling, basically, or maybe all mountain, because it's not, the rake is pretty aggressive, and it's got, pretty impressive suspension with 180 millimeters of travel front and rear, with rebound speed adjust and CTD, climb, trail, downhill adjust, so you can kind of almost lock out that rear suspension element so that you're not getting bobbing happening there. And of course, on the front, we've got the Fox 36 Talus air fork, so they're relatively lightweight. This bike it's like 51 pounds, whereas the Pro version is about 49 pounds. So you're saving, a couple pounds between the two. It's really that component group that we were talking about. So this is the Shimano DRA XT Shadow Plus. There's those 10 rings I was talking about right there in the rear. And you can see that they run right up to that extra sprocket on the front there, which is, it's called a sprocket equalizing system. This is something that's kind of special Haibike's developed, and it raises the chain a little bit to kind of fit with this rear moving suspension arm and chainstay here. It's not going to touch that. And I've noticed that the teeth on this, it goes from like narrow to wide, and so that fits perfectly with the chain, and it only lines up in one configuration, so that you don't have as much slipping, and it adds even more precision to the system. It also reduces chain kickback. Like if the rear suspension arm is going up and down and the length here is changing, you won't feel that as you pedal, which is kind of a neat update that they've done there. And of course, the other big difference between these two is in the wheel set. So DT Swiss E1900. It's a double walled, it's still a good rim, but it's not quite as high end and lightweight as the rims on the Pro version. And also these Hans Dampf tires, they're also excellent, but just maybe a little bit lower end than on the Pro. It's 26 by 2.35 inch. Being a 26-inch wheel, you're going to have a little bit more maneuverability and speed on these, and of course it accommodates this 180 millimeters of travel. So, using this for downhill, you can kind of steer around things and get that long travel, really absorbing the trail, versus something like a 27.5-inch wheel or 29er. That would be good for maybe like cross country or just trail riding. The larger wheel diameter is a little bit slower to start, but then you get better momentum and a higher attack angle, so that you can just roll right over logs, whereas this, you can kind of maneuver around and, kind of like a fighter pilot or something. And I should say, look at this really oversized tapered head tubes, really cool. This is all 6061 aluminum, hydroformed, and a lot of cast parts as well. Kind of see right here where the interface with the motor system is. It's just premium components all the way around. So this bike goes for about $7,000 MSRP, whereas the Pro, being a little bit lighter and having that extra large ring and the rims, it goes for $9,100. So it's really about the component group differences on these. And I wanted to kind of demo this. So there's the remote lock, or a remote adjust, I guess, for the seat dropper. There we go. I just put it down. When I touch this, yeah, there we go. It's awesome. Kind of rises. So if you're bombing a trail, you can drop that down and swing your body all around and use your legs for support. Whereas if you're climbing, you raise that a little bit and you've got a better stride length with your legs. So it's awesome setup all the way around. And of course, quick release front and rear, which is super, useful if you're out on the trail and you need to do some quick work or change a tube or a tire or something like that. The front is a 20 millimeter through axle and a 203 millimeter disc brake rotor. On the back, it's 180 millimeter and it's a 12 millimeter through axle. So both of those super stiff, super solid, and tough for handling, big hits on the trail like that. And they're both hydraulic. DRA XT levers up here. You can activate those with just a couple fingers. It's just a really sweet frame and bike all around as just a mountain bike or downhill bike. But then when you combine that with the Bosch drive system, it's phenomenal. I mean, this is like the best motor system that I've seen on the market to date in the United States. I'm looking at this late 2014. This is a 2015 model. What you've got here is a 350 watt geared center drive. It's a second generation Bosch motor, and it measures three things. It measures the speed of your wheel, so your wheel speed. There's the magnet, and there's the sensor. And then inside it measures the torque, so how hard you're pushing on that pedal, and also your cadence, how fast you're pedaling. And it measures all of those things like 1,000 times per second. So it's just super fast, like very responsive. And with that smaller ring in the front, you get a higher speed output, which is more efficient and actually provides better leverage for climbing and stuff. And when you combine this mid-drive with these 10 gears, you can actually empower the motor to be just super efficient. You get great range with this thing, great climbing ability. I've gone up trails where it was like too steep to climb anymore, and the motor was still helping me. So this isn't gonna fail you in that sense. It offers 60 Newton meters of torque. The battery here is lithium manganese cells, 6061 or 6068, I think. Known for being lightweight, really durable. It offers 36 volts of power, 11 amp hours of capacity, and it is removable. You can see there's a locking keyhole there by Abus. You can take this battery off the bike, which is gonna lighten the whole thing about 8.8 pounds, make it easier to throw on a bike rack on your car, that kind of thing. And of course, I always take this off and I take off my display if possible, if I'm parking it in a vulnerable area or even just out in the weather, because it's gonna help keep it from wearing out. With exposure, suffering through vandalism, that kind of thing. But I usually also recommend topping that off after each ride so that the battery doesn't discharge all the way down. That can be hard on the cells and, kind of wreck it more quickly. There's a solid warranty from Haibike. There's stuff, you're paying a lot of money. You're getting a really high-end product here. And actually, let's see, I'm here with Jed. How's it going, Jed?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. So you're like a senior service technician for the EBCC.
Correct.
And that's the Electric Bike Competency Center.
Right.
Okay, great. And we were talking about this earlier. You've been out on these bikes quite a bit, and you have had the chance to work on them, and it's just fun to get, like that master perspective and
Right.
someone who's like really familiar with this. And I wanted to ask, what your thoughts were on this bike. Like, you're paying a little bit less because you're getting a lower end component group than the Pro, but this is still like a phenomenal bike. And what stands out to you about this one?
As far again, you get the fork and the rear shock system from the Enduro, so it doesn't fail you as far as travel and ability to you do your drop-ins and roll sand and baby heads. And again, there's low spec SLX, but if you know Shimano, this is actually the Saint pushed down, and then the new version of the Saint supersedes this. So this is a semi-downhill brake system.
Cool.
If you look, it has heat sinks built into it.
Is that what that was? Okay,
Yep.
yeah, look at that. Heat sinks built right into what is that, the calipers for the...
actually, feeding off the brake pads themselves.
Interesting. Very cool. And I was talking about the kind of the quick release and serviceability and the whole 26-inch wheel set.
If you forget, don't think about the electrics, which is the battery, the motor, and this.
Yeah.
This is a full-blown mountain bike. So anything you can do, pop the front wheel off the rear, do any kind of field service that you need to.
And regular service. If you took this into a shop, like, it's less intimidating probably for a staff that may not be as familiar.
It looks like a mountain bike before it looks like an electric.
Yeah.
Good. I've been riding these bikes since they came here last April. I've had no failures on any of the Haibike systems.
Cool.
Typical flat tires, but it's nothing.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. This is lightweight, like high-performance tire, but being lightweight and maybe a little bit grippier, softer, you kind of run through them a little faster, I suppose.
Correct. Well, you have to remember it's heavier and it has a drive system, so you have more torque applied to the rear tire, so it will burn up the rear tires considerably faster.
Okay. Well, that's worth noting. Do you ever rotate them, swap the tires?
Not really.
Not really. Just get a new one, because these are like $100 tires, right? You're saying that?
You can, but most tires, you know, some tires are front and rear specific. The Enduro has a rear specific and a front specific tire.
Okay.
So for a full-blown all-mountain downhill, you run a much larger front tire.
Interesting.
So, but I think this bike runs an equal 2.2 something front and rear.
Yeah, they look similar to me, but that's good feedback to get. And that's why I was struggling. It's like, this is sort of the downhill offering from Haibike, but it's, you know, I'm not seeing like big double crown suspension fork up here.
And you can put them on if that's something. If that's your flavor,
Could
this will
upgrade
take
that.
a triple clamp, no problem.
Interesting. Wait, what is a triple clamp? What is?
Well, basically, you'll have the clamping system here and a clamp up here.
And that's what's creating
And
that,
the
what I'm
tubes
calling double
will run-
crown?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, you have a first crown, second, and then third.
Oh, so that would be a triple crown.
Triple crown.
Okay, so this is a double crown.
Right.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm learning a little bit here. This is kind of the new.
With the upper crown up here locking the full tube, you basically torsional stability is, you know, it's there.
Yeah.
You can get a little bit of flex in this system because it only locks to here, so you get
Oh, yeah.
a little bit of. So if you're if you're a world-class rider, you will feel that.
Okay.
It's your job.
Sure.
As a typical trail rider, not so much.
Okay. Well, yeah, and I mean, for me, as someone who, I'm not a pro downhiller at all. I'm just, you know, an electric bike enthusiast and kind of learning about, you know, what's differentiating the different bikes from Haibike for 2015.
Right.
And this is still, you know, really, really premium stuff. And it's amazing to see so many different adjustments that you can make. And yeah.
You've been basically jonesing for that monster downhill trail that you've never been able to get to except by shuttle. This will take you up a few times.
And that's the key, right? So you can totally ride this thing like up the trail, and then you can bomb it yourself. You don't necessarily need that chairlift, and you can kind of go free ride in different environments that have been inaccessible previously, or like you said, maybe once if you like really work all day, like climb it. So, and you know, that's the other thing. This is a class 1 pedal assist electric bike, so it's really smooth. It's not going to have a throttle. You're not going to have like the tires spinning out or anything like that. It's just actuated based on your pedaling. So this is as bike-like as you can get, and this is you know, allowed in the most locations as far as electric bikes go. I'm going to go ahead and talk about the Intuvia system here now. That's the display that I was showing earlier. To activate it, you just press this power button. It's backlit, so as soon as you turn it on, it's kind of a monochrome, and there's like a little faint glow that you can see. I've got a couple of different you know, touch points here on the display, including lights. This bike doesn't have them, but you could wire in lights, and some of the other Haibikes have that. There's a reset button that resets like your trip distance, and then the eye. But the eye cycles through different display modes, and it's also available here on this remote button pad. So I can press this eye, and I can see the odometer, which is like the overall distance this bike has gone. Trip distance, that's like this time, and that's where the reset button comes in handy. Clock, max speed, average speed, and trip time. Okay, so that's, you know, all the stuff that you might see on a cycle computer. Range is the one that's really cool to me, because you can actually approximate how far you can go with the remaining battery capacity. So at the lowest level of assist, you're getting 50% of like power output to what you're putting in. So I'm pushing this hard, and the motor's giving me about half of that in addition. So that's eco mode, and it's estimating 65-mile range on eco mode right now, and that's pretty awesome. 65 miles on a single charge is just, that's the upper limit, and part of that is because it's efficient mid-drive, and you get to leverage that rear cassette, and you have to pedal, so you're always contributing to this bike. If we arrow up a little bit to Tour, Sport, and Turbo mode, that's the highest level. You're getting 275% power output from that motor, and that's the one where you can get up anything. I mean, it's awesome, and potentially not even have to stand up. So, you know, for someone who has like hurt knees, or you're just maybe not, you know, doing the weekend warrior thing, and not your cardiovasculars maybe a little bit less well toned, a turbo is going to help you stay with your friends, or reach those more remote locations, and overcome those bigger hills. But you'll see that the range really drops. It's like 25-mile approximated range here with that. So I think I'm going to hop on and give a little bit of a demo. with the highest level because you'll get to hear the motor more, but note that it's the highest level, so it's a lot quieter on the lower ones. And again, here's that remote button pad. I like that it kind of clicks as you press down, and it, you know, you don't necessarily have to be looking down at the display. You can just feel your way through the bike. And the display also has a little battery in it, and there's a little charging port on the side. It does take, I believe, a micro USB dongle though to make that work. There it is right there. Okay, so as I pedal, I'm gonna kind of hold the camera down by that front sprocket, and you can see it sort of activating and then deactivating very rapidly as I start and stop pedaling, and that's what I'm talking about with that 1,000 measurements per second earlier. You reach about 20 miles per hour, and then the motor stops, kind of cuts out, because that's the maximum speed based on legal requirements in the US. Maybe I should have mentioned the Bosch system also has shift detection, so when you shift, it's not going to mash the gears in the rear, which is pretty cool and important if you're switching gears, going up a big incline and putting a lot of stress on the chain. So pretty sweet stuff. Definitely enough of a downhiller for me. I was taking this thing across the grass and having some fun earlier, and it really soaks up the bumps. That's the Haibike XDURO RX. For the full write-up on this with all the specs and other Haibike reviews, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com.